Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, happy Tuesday. Not only is it Tuesday, March the 3rd, but it is the Feast of Purim. And I'm very, very excited to celebrate this. I love to align myself with the feast that God has put into play. Bump all these man made holidays, okay? Like, whatever. Most of them are just marketing ploys anyway. But Purim is very, very special. Purim comes from the book of Esther. And Esther Esther was a bad girl. She really was. In the place of knowing how and how can I say this? How to strategically align herself with the will of God without the mention of God's name. Isn't that crazy? Like the book of Esther is the one book in the Word of God that doesn't talk about God, but it is so powerful because when just hopefully you know the story of Esther. Esther was this little Hadassah, was her name, little Jewish girl that got swooped up after Vashti decided to say she wasn't going to strip for the king. And I ain't mad at Vashti, okay? But after she was like, you will not put me on display with your friends. Hey, I get it. But anyway, it was part of God's plan to usher in Hadassah or Esther to put her in that place. So y'all don't be hating on Vashti, okay? She had a role to play. And baby girl had some dignity and honor about herself and was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this. So anyway, anyhow, so Esther gets swooped up. She goes through a whole year of preparation. They prepared all of the young ladies before they paraded them before the king for the king to make his decision. Some became his concubine, and Esther became his wife. Esther was beautiful. She was preserved. She was prepared. Keep that in mind. There was a year of preparation before she came before the king, and she was chosen to be his wife by the king. And then the story takes this crazy twist. All right. She's in the palace. It's all good. She's living the life. And then there is this adversary to her people that she didn't even know about. His name was Haman. And Haman was an Agite. And he hated the Jewish people. And so he devised a plan to annihilate them. One person in particular that really, really was a royal pain in his butt was Mordecai. And Mordecai was Esther's uncle, and he had raised her. And so, as the story goes, Haman had devised this plan. He was going to hang Mordecai at the galleys. It's a deep story. It really, really is. If you ever get a chance to watch the movie Esther, watch it. But even more importantly, go read the book of Esther in the Bible. But at any rate, Mordecai had done something that had saved the king's life, and his name was written in the annals of the king. And just so happened that one night, the king couldn't sleep. And so he went and he started reading and he read about what Mordecai had done. And he thought about he never honored Mordecai for saving his life. And so he calls Haman, who is close to the king, and he calls him and asks him what should be done for the man whom the king wants to honor. So Haman, caught all up in his pride, thought the king was talking about him. And so he's like, he needs to be given the choice horse and paraded down the street with an announcement and an announcer saying that, this is the man that the king was bestowing honor on and all of that, because he thought it was going to be him. And then the king said, I like what you said, and this is what I want to do for Mordecai. And I want you to be the one that leads him down the street saying, this is the man that the king wants to bestow honor on. Needless to say, Haman was hot. He was hot. So what he did, backdooring, he told the king this story about, all of the Jews needed to be annihilated. They set a date to do it, yada, yada, yada. He put galleys up and on Mordecai's land because he was going to hang him. And when the word got out that there was a plot to totally annihilate the Jews, Mordecai came to Esther. And that is when Esther discovered and realized that she was in the palace for specifically such a time as this to do what God had called her and purposed her and prepared her to do. All right. Again, it's a wonderful story. But here is the key. God turned that thing around. Esther called for a fast. Mordecai went to Esther. Who knows? You may be in the palace for such a time as this. You hear that all the time, for such a time as this. Esther went ahead, called a fast, yada, yada, yada. They fasted for 3 days. Esther went before the king. She could have lost her life for going before the king. I'm going through all of this kind of fast because I want to get to the place where God orchestrated, because of Esther's humility before him, humbling herself to him, he orchestrated a reversal of what the enemy had planned for the children of Israel. End of the story is the decree was rewritten. There was another decree written on top of the first decree where the Jews could defend themselves and they were not annihilated. Oh, let me back up. Haman winded up being hung on the gallows that he put up for Mordecai. But here's the key. Purim represents a reversal of the plans that the enemy has for your life. I did all of that to get to that point. It represents a reversal of the plans that the enemy had for your life. So as we celebrate Purim today, go and decree. You set the atmosphere, decree that every plan that the enemy has and he has established to annihilate you will be reversed and he will be annihilated. The Jews defended themselves and wiped away everybody that came against them, and not one of the Jews were lost. Okay, so decree that today. Align yourself with God's reversal of the plans and the schemes that the enemy has. And make sure that while you're putting that petition out, you're asking God, unveil, uncover what the enemy's plan is, so I know exactly how to strategically come against it in prayer. All right. All right. That's my nugget for you for today. Happy Purim. I pray that you will take that to heart and that you will decree a reversal in the things that the enemy has set for your demise. All right. Love you with the love of Christ. You have an absolutely positively victoriously fantabulous day. All right. All right. God bless.